Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just back again with another what I call common board sermon. So I'm just going to read a question that Jewish Questions asked, and I don't quite know what he's getting at, but it may just serve as like a foundation of what I wanted to talk about anyway, related to what I talk more about lately about being sealed, and I'm more sort of I talk about it more just simply because my financial resources are running low, and then if I am one, then it matters, to the whole world. As that will sound probably very arrogant, but it's just a fact, and then I would never make that claim unless I could back it up, of course, with what I understand about the Bible and how I did not come up with that myself. I know that for a fact. Like, I would never have been able to piece that together unless God gave me insight into the way revelation is supposed to be ordered, and then that unlocks the whole book, because that loop is it's playing over and over again, and I see it like it's clear everywhere that I read the Bible now, and I look even in real life, and it's the same. And so that's why I've kind of put that out there. It's not for theater or anything like that, or to get pity. It's to be practical about that. If it is the case that I was one of those individuals in that elite group in Revelation 7, then Christ will return. He will. I know that for a fact. It's not even a debate, because that proves that the Bible is true, obviously, and it proves that the God of the Bible is alive and well, and that it also proves that that event has to happen prior to his return, which happens prior to wrath, and so his elect are taken away. And so it's I know that for a fact. And so I can't prove that I am obviously one of those individuals. I can only demonstrate it with what I know or what I've been taught. But that's why I've sort of increased, I would say, the frequency of reminding people that. And it's a good reminder for me, just to have that sort of hopeful expectation, that will indeed be the case. And personally, I would say it seems likely, that is the case. Again, I say that humbly, but I'm not worried about myself in any way, and having to do anything quote unquote drastic. I would say I believe at this point fairly strongly that, I was sealed, and I am one of the 144,000. Again, I say that as humbly as possible, but it's just, again, to let people know to plan accordingly, just like I am. But I want to focus, his question here is related to prophecy, but there's another aspect of the elect that also I feel is possibly even a stronger case for why, I'm unique. And it's not anything that I did, because I didn't make myself, and I didn't tell myself that stuff. This is all God doing this. But it's one notion that Christ says in Matthew 24:24, "For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect." And so I'm proof that it's not possible to be deceived. Why? Because really right when flat earth hit, I knew that God existed. And so then, out of my anger and distrust for really every structure that propagated that lie, and continues it even to this day, the ball earth, I went to God, because I was like, no one else did it. After the few little while that it took me to get over the anger, that I was duped, I would email my high school teachers and all that kind of stuff, as many people I could find and get access to. But after that wore off, I was like, God did this. And then the Bible says that he did do this in Job 12:16, that, the deceived and the deceiver are his. And so then I went right to the CEO, so to speak, of this whole movie. And I would nag him, every day in my own way. Why? Why is this happening? Why did this happen? Why did I have to be duped? And to such a now an obvious truth that the earth is flat and stationary. And then that's just one of the things that I found out from that point going forward that I was deceived about. And really the how to interpret the entire Bible, really. And so I cannot be deceived, because I am a person, and I was like this from the beginning, I would assume designed this way for a purpose, that I go to God, and so I literally cannot be deceived. Not just forget about the fact that, my understanding of the Bible is very, very unique, and I would say that will never be, replace, or usurped is like what I used to say, term that I use. It will not, because it's been verified everywhere. But it's impossible for someone like me now at this point to be deceived, because I don't trust any other structure on earth at all, or any person, including myself. And so that's what was needed, for me, and I would assume the other people in this group, if I am in it, to get to that. I only go to God for anything that's credible, and then I'll listen to what other people say, but all of it's always being filtered by God. And I'm going to examine everything that they do, their actions and with their motivations. I'm going to measure everything, the way they speak, what they want to talk about, everything. I'm measuring it, and then I'm running it through my God, and then asking him, why is this person brought in front of me, and that kind of thing. So it's literally impossible for me to be deceived, because I don't trust any of the structures. And then I'll just ignore it. If it's like, if there's any doubt, or what quote doubt, there isn't, but let's just say I'll just dismiss it. And so I don't care, at all. And so I'll err on the side of caution, so to speak. So that's one of probably the stronger reason for me that we're close to the end, is because the deceptions are so bad. And so it had to have been for a reason. This is not just for me. Like, everybody knows that the deceptions are stupid, because the government's a big part of it. And then obviously the truth community on YouTube is also a part of it. And then they're connected, a lot of them. And so the deceptions are so bad. And so that's probably even more confidence that I have. Just the general vibe of the deceptions worldwide are so bad that it's not the prophesying per se, where, I've pieced together revelation based on what God told me, and then now throughout the whole Bible. But it's just the fact that in general, the deceptions are so bad. And the people delivering those deceptions, I wouldn't trust them anyway. And then they're very obviously not trustworthy people, just by their character and the kind of things that they want to talk about and don't want to talk about, sometimes more importantly. So that's again why, the prophecy part and the piecing it together and all that, to me, is a little bit of icing on the cake and a bit of a victory lap, so to speak. But that's why I put myself in that category, because I'm not trying to go and deceive anybody, on YouTube. If I don't know something, I just say I don't know. But then, thankfully, what God told me, I do know quite a bit, about the Bible. So I don't have to say I don't know, very often, unless it's like something very, very deep, or something that, we can't wrap our mind around on this side. But the actual what's going on in the Bible, it's very, very clear, because again, it's a loop over and over again. So there's like hundreds literally of examples. So nothing in the Bible is like really that big of a mystery, and I say that humbly and like in awe of the structure of it, because it has to have been designed by, a supernatural being, because man couldn't figure that out. When did they have the supercomputers? Yeah, I'm going to put, Isaiah 66:15 here, and it's going to land on that number to match 666. And then Zephaniah 1:18 is going to be 666, and all that. Revelation 14:4. How did the people know when they were writing that down? Oh, you know what? Yeah, this is going to be in the fourth spot, fourth verse. Okay, let me put that here. How would they didn't know that. And so it has to be God. So it's impossible for me to be deceived, because even if I didn't know as much as I did about the Bible, you still wouldn't be deceived, because I don't trust any other structure on this earth unless it comes from a divine, righteous sense. Okay, even if it's not somebody in front of me, because there's evil people everywhere, I have to sense that it's pure. Okay, whether it's coming, from the top or people around me, and I don't see anybody around me that's pure. They're all animals. And so I don't trust any of them in any kind of complete way. And so essentially it limits all the noise that's coming, even in my own mind. It's gone now. It's zero. I don't care about my opinion, my future, my career goals, or none of that. And so that's why what I teach had to have come from another entity. Now the question for me personally is, did it come from the God of the Bible? That's it. And then did he use me to deceive, or did he use me to teach what's actually true? And then I know that it's true, just like I said, because it's everywhere in the Bible. And so that gives me a very, very lot of confidence, not in myself, but in God, because all those sound waves they're gone now. I'll talk to people and chop it up with them and try to be friendly with all them, but I know that a majority of people are part of that Matthew 24:24 false Christ and false prophets, because they're not quoting God. They'll quote, Tahar told me this, I learned this from all, and of course I've learned a few things up to January 1st, 2020 that help me now, like the numerology and like the flat earth and all that kind of stuff to help me interpret the Bible, no doubt. But the actual fitting it all together came from God, because only he could make the Bible in that structure for me to then see it. So it's only from God. Okay. And I didn't notice that prior to January 1st, 2020. I had really no numerology videos about the Bible itself. I would have numerology about, like stuff, logos and all that kind of stuff, but never in the Bible did I see the structure. Okay. And so it had to have been divine, and again, I don't say that to boast, but that just gives me more and more confidence that it's not the prophesying per se, which Jewish question is asking here in this question. It's the fact that I'm not able to be deceived anymore, ever. First of all, I know God exists because of the flat stationary Earth. So that was a big, huge boost to now know God exists, and then now to understand why were we deceived, and then we can all boldly go to God, And then we're looking for answers, and then I looked in the Bible, and then which a lot of people are doing, which is great, and then then it just literally eliminates the amount of ways that I can be deceived. It's virtually impossible. Like it says, Christ says, if it were so possible, and it's not possible. God would not leave any of his elect deceived. It's like, what kind of God would that be? I'm going to deceive you and I'm going to leave you deceived. Like, what would be the purpose of that? Why would Christ say that in such a cryptic way, if it were so possible? Okay, because he's letting us know that he would never leave us hanging like that. Okay, we had to go through all this, the deception first and foremost, all these evil structures. We had to learn from all these different people a little bit to prepare us for what he's ultimately going to do himself in Revelation 7. Put it all together, to be sealed, okay, to connect the dots. And all of that was so he gets credit for it. And we will never stop giving him credit for it, ever. And so that's why I believe that whether I'm in that group or the group that surrounds them, I know for a fact that I'm not deceived, and I can never be deceived from this point going forward, because a lot of the truths, and thankfully it's not just me, it's lots of people, they're just so obvious. It's obvious on YouTube who the actors are. It's everybody, okay, except me. And so it's easy, okay, because I know within talking 5 minutes to somebody what they're allowed to talk about, what they're not allowed to talk about, and then they're never going to change their opinion on things that I know that are obviously not true. And so that's why I would say I'm buckling up, and this is, again, not arrogant at all, but that's probably a stronger reason, underlying reason that's existed from the beginning. My personality, the quote spirit in me, is that I'll go right to the top. I remember even my first job at Schlumberger, I was working for a company that Schlumberger owned called Western Geco. And I had some ideas, wanted to brainstorm. I went right to the president of the company, okay, which is like what's called a career limiting move. You're not supposed to do that. I went above my boss, his boss, he had a boss, and then he reported to that person, okay? And so I went up how many chains that was? 4 levels, okay, to talk to the president. And he still actually, I believe, is the president of the company now, which is, he left and then came back. But I was like, yeah, let's just brainstorm. I was clueless, oblivious. And so, but I just want people to know that's my personality. And so if I'm deceived and it's a massive deception, I go right to the top. And I would go right to the top even though I didn't know what I was doing in that company, because I just assumed everybody, hey, I just have some ideas, let's brainstorm and all that. And he actually had a meeting with me, but obviously that's not good, because I'm kind of undercutting all those structures, my boss, his boss, and his boss. So they don't want that. Who's this kid trying to think that he, smart enough to go to all these people and all that. So it was not good, for my career to do that. And I didn't know. I was just clueless, and in many ways I would say that that's good. It's actually a good quality to be, to be clueless to some extent of all the evil and all the insecurity that those other people will have. But that's just the way I am. And that's not changed. And now I have infinite confidence. I don't even care what those people say. I went right to the top. I have a new boss now because of the flat earth. I report right to God. I don't report to any of you dummies on YouTube, and you shouldn't report to me. No, I'm not looking for disciples. The Most High is actually looking for disciples, though, and Christ says those who will worship him in spirit and in truth. And so right when I knew that God exists, I go right to God. And I'm going to worship him. Guess what? Spirit, because he's a spirit, and I want the truth. Why did that happen? Okay, why was I taught a false reality about everything? Why did that happen to me? Okay, and then they just flowed. Okay, and then I believe that God used that day to fulfill Bible prophecy, to fill in the blanks, to give me the main clues, the key to unlock the book of Revelation. So that's why I rest comfortably at night. And I say that as humbly as possible, and I want people to get excited, if they believe that they are of the elect or have received the things that I teach as coming from God, then just know I'm not bluffing, with my timeline. It's not like a bait and switch. Oh, I was kidding. I secretly have $10 million. I'm just kidding. Let me add 10 more years to that. No, I don't want to be here, okay? Because I know God exists. Because he told me what I needed to know on January 1st, 2020. Jewish questions like, I have a question about prophesying. A person prophesying the same thing as another is often always doing it in vain in your estimation if one is simply repeating someone else's prophecy. I don't consider myself a prophet, by the way. I consider myself somebody who's not deceived. And so, yes, the testimony in the last days is the spirit of prophecy. Like I read regularly in Revelation 19:10, for the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. So, the reason what I teach is prophetic, not that I'm a prophet, because the prophets in the last days are the two witnesses. They're prophetic because they have power. The only power I have is to give up, and then the end times will be cut short for the elect's sake. And so that's the quote power that I have, is essentially just to give up, okay? And then to declare to the world that I have this much time remaining, and then that's it. I'm not going to be able to do anything or make that happen or anything like that. That's all I can proclaim. And so, but the Bible now, all of it is prophetic. I know that now, because like I said, Revelation is looped throughout the whole Bible. And so that is a genuine testimony, and it is prophetic, because now I understand the sequence of the end times, and that kind of thing. And so it's legitimate, in terms of me prophesying, but it's not that I'm a prophet per se, okay? And so it's not necessarily the prophecy that matters, it's the fact that God told me something. It could be anything. And so that's what I want people to understand. It's like, I would feel just as quote unquote special if I could sense in that same neutral voice in my mind that told me all those things on January 1st, 2020, and since then, if that same voice told me, go outside, walk 3 blocks this way, go over there, and then you're going to see like a gold coin and it's going to have these exact marks on it, I'll be like, that's God. I didn't come up with that. Okay, I didn't want to go and do that. And then I'll be like, well, God told me that, and then I'll be like, ooh, something unique about me. Okay. And then even deeper, if God told me exactly why he wanted me to do that. Okay. Which is what I'm getting with all these insights, the understanding of the Bible. And then the whole book is like being revealed to me. And I think it's amazing. And so, then it would be the same thing, even though that's not a prophetic thing that I would then be able to go and share and build up other people. That would be a prophecy, because God would be telling me to go do these things, and then that would happen. And so it's more giving credit to God for fulfilling prophecy. Okay. It's like God prophesied and then used me just to happen to go and walk and pick up that coin. And then here in this case, putting those things in my brain and then piecing it together and then putting it on YouTube. And then what I'm saying is prophetic, no doubt, but it's God fulfilling prophecy. That's the bigger thing in Revelation 7. And then using me as a vessel then to demonstrate it to the world. The understanding that only came from him, because I would not have got it anywhere else on YouTube. No one else on YouTube teaches what I teach, and they will never be able to. And I say that humbly, because it came from God, the Most High. And so, because he's looking for people to worship him in spirit and in truth, and when they do that for only those reasons, he's going to give people insights, for sure. And so it may be the same thing, it may be other things, but he's going to let them know that they're marked, without a doubt, and ultimately that he's coming. But if you're out there, somebody just in general who's saying, or you're open to Christ returning in 5 or 10 years, then it's a different God. So now our gods are competing. May the best man win, because that's not mine. Because like I said, mine will return before I run out of money. And so that's why I'm picky. When I interact with people, I want to know quickly, who is your God and when is he planning to return? And then the fact that nobody else is aligned with the urgency with which I am teaching that Christ will return, it doesn't affect me at all. It makes it to me more and more likely that it's true. And so I don't say that to be rude to people, but that's what I'm quickly trying to find out. If somebody says 10 years, it's a different God, then you're going to be saved then and not me. And then that's good. I'm happy for you. Okay. Like I said, I've prepared for both situations. So just know that, okay? If my God is real, he's going to return very soon, very, very soon. And if that doesn't happen, then doesn't mean that the Bible's not true, but God's obviously, going to save another group, who he's already sealed or he's going to seal, and that kind of thing. And so, if it ends up being you, I'm happy for you, genuinely. So it wasn't me, and that's totally fine. But it's not the prophecy per se, it's the fact that the information came from God and not me and not YouTube and not any other man, okay? So that's the important part. And so that's sacred, for me personally. And I get more and more confidence every day that it is from God, because everybody else that I see is a false Christ and a false prophet. So just know that. In this situation, would it be proper for the man to ascribe the prophecy not only to the man he is repeating it from, but also to God? If the different men at least go to teach to different audiences in different ways and places, do you think it makes the repeating of prophecy by the one man profitable for people? What if both originally got the same prophecy from God, and would you think that would be a possibility regarding what you prophesy? Yes, I do believe that the elect, that group, they're not going to be told different things. There's no way. And so, no, they will know, if that's what God decided to tell them, to let them know that he's returning, that they can then demonstrate to themselves and potentially outwards that it only came from God. They're not going to be told something different than I'm told. Either the two witnesses are the two men in Acts 1:10-11, or it's not. There's no different interpretations on that. That's unique that I've showed, and then needed is the key to unlock. So they would be teaching the same thing if they're on any kind of public forum. I haven't seen that on YouTube, so they would just know, in their mind potentially, and they know that their job is not to go and preach the gospel, like a lot of you liars on YouTube and actors. They know that angels are going to do it according to Revelation 14:6, and so you don't need to be on YouTube or anything like that, but they would never go and teach something different than what I teach. And this again is like my teaching basically has to be true at this point, because it's so obvious, and it fits in with the whole volume of the book. And so that's again why I pretty much know that it's what I teach or the Bible's not true, the whole thing. Can you imagine? And I'm not saying this to be arrogant, but it has to be the case. And so that's why I'm not worried, that I'm going to quote unquote cross over on my own or anything. I'm fully expecting Christ to return while I'm here, with whatever I have left. My phone is recording it, but whatever money I have left. I think I have like 16K in my bank account and like 2.5K of Bitcoin, crypto. So, I'm not worried at all. If I am one of that 144,000 in Revelation 7, my whole bank account could disappear in the morning, and then Christ would return in the morning, and that's the way it is. And I firmly believe that with everything that's inside of me, if I am one of those men. So my situation, it doesn't matter, and then it's impossible for me to die, between now and then, because we could all die, of lots of different things, car accidents and all that. And so that's my mindset. If I'm not, then I maybe just kind of figured it out or something, I guess. I don't know. Like, it just hit me that morning. Okay. I just had an epiphany, and then it all just sort of fit together. And then now no one can teach me anything about the Bible. Okay. Maybe. Okay. That's possible. Statistically unlikely at this point, but it's always a possibility. Okay. But if that was divine, which again, I've cleared out all the other noise, so it cannot be anything else but God, then nothing can happen to me. I can't harm myself, and no one's going to come and harm me. That's why the elect are the only people that can, first of all, worship in spirit and in truth, because they're spiritual. They only care about the spirit, and they know the truth because God gave it to them, the missing pieces. Other people will know parts of it. Of course, America's Mystery, Babylon, the earth is flat. They'll have little pieces. But, the elect will be able to put it all together, and then ultimately know that, most importantly, too, is that that's prior to the wrath, which is coming, and they're going to be taken away. They're exempt. And so they were chosen. And so it's nothing I did, except I worship God in spirit and in truth, and pursued him intensely. And I have no desire to lie, ever. It's not like, oh, you know what, maybe I can get some money from this. The truth that they're being sealed with, no, it'll be ignored. That's why when my backup channel is ignored, I'm like, probably true, And then so if it was blowing up and it was like going all across the airwaves and all that, I'll be like, well, it's no longer 144 anymore. Okay, it's like it's gone out to all these people, and so then I would be like, I don't know, maybe not, and that kind of thing. But the fact that my channel is like relatively small, obscure, and then my backup channel especially is ignored, gives me more and more, me personally, more and more confidence that it is indeed true. And so, I'm fully confident, that that's the case. And so, whether it's me or another group in this generation, it has to be in this generation because the deceptions are so bad. And so we know that this system cannot continue just purely economically and for all the other reasons. So it's getting to the point now where if it were to continue on much longer, we would care more about good and evil than God. And then if this narrative that we see going on right now is not checked, then we care about God's laws more than God does. How can that be when barely anybody cares really at all? And so that's impossible. Those are God's laws. And so how can we as disgusting people care about God's laws more than he does? And so if he doesn't intervene soon on the order of days, then we do care about God's laws more than he does because billions of people have already violated it, and everybody knows what I'm talking about. So we're in those days. Okay, there's not a part 2 and a part 3 and a part 4 of violation of God's laws. Either God loves his law and his elect will now for sure, or they don't, or he doesn't, and they don't. And so I do. Raise my hand. I do. Okay, because I see what the world is like without those laws. All of them just ignored, laughed at, all that stuff. Okay, and so I do. And I want to be involved in a system of people who all love those laws, at least as much as I do, and hopefully a lot more. And then that'll be good because then I want to love it as much as they do. And then ultimately have it inside of us like Christ himself. Christ was not capable of committing a sin because he was programmed to be righteous. Okay? It's impossible. We were given some amount of quote, freedom to see evil and then ultimately to like reject it and then want to be back with God. And so we want to be made like Christ. So we don't displease Christ ever again, and then certainly not be involved in harming him physically. We don't want to see that again. And then we don't want to see other people harmed. And then we want to please God. Okay. And then we want that desperately. And so that's it's only rooted in the laws, the rules. Okay. We always want to play by the rules. We don't want people cheating anybody. I don't want to cheat anybody and all that. I've done it throughout my life, but I don't want to do that anymore. Tell lies or, make up stories and all that stuff that we have to do. Eat disgusting food and all that. And all that stuff. And so it's getting to the point now where if God doesn't return, and again, I'm very confident that he will, but that we, disgusting people, love his laws more than he does. And that's crazy. Like, just to say that is ridiculous because basically no one does. Okay. And I'm in that category as well. No, nobody does that I've seen personally. Obviously, there are lots of people on earth who are righteous without a doubt, and they're not on YouTube with like a YouTube account or whatever, but no, definitely not what I see. Okay. With my vantage point. So the two witnesses definitely will, I'll tell you that without a doubt, Moses and Elijah, pure. And then they have to be because they're administering judgments, plagues. And so they will for sure. And so you take that to the bank. But that's what it's coming. That's the times that we're coming in now, is that we as evil, sick people see how evil the world is, and how it's against God's laws. And so I believe God's going to demonstrate very, very soon that he hasn't forgot about us, and he certainly hasn't forgot about his laws. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.